세상의 모든 지식 언더스탠딩.
예.
네, 오늘 언더스탠딩의 이 영상은 저희가 저희 시청자들에게 너무 수준이 높은 영상 아닐까라는 생각으로 사실은 그냥 안 내보낼까도 생각했었던 겁니다만
네.
또 여러분들에게 가끔씩 이렇게 지적 자극을 또 드리는 게
우리가 할 일이다.
네, 그렇습니다. 그렇기도 하고 오늘 주제는요. 최근에 그 인공지능의 서비스의 흐름입니다.
얼마 전에 왜 그 검색 AI에 대해서 좀 배웠잖아요.
네.
거기서 그래서 야 이게 구글을 앞으로 바꿀 수 있는 거냐 없는 거냐 뭐 이런 얘기도 했고.
예.
그래서 거기에 뭐 몇 가지 업체들이 거론이 됐는데
네.
그 중에 요즘 제일 잘 나간다는 퍼플렉시티.
인공지능 서치?
그렇습니다.
예, 그래서
AI 서치.
네. 그 회사를 직접 창업한
퍼플렉시티에
창업자를 바로 모셔서
영어로
인터뷰를 좀 해보겠습니다.
야, 저희는 물론 한국말로.
네.
네. 그래서 우리가 오늘 퍼플렉시티의 창업자인 아라빈드
스리니바스 CEO를 만나볼 거고요.
예, 옆에서 그 황유라 퍼플렉시티 에이펙 총괄님이 옆에서 실시간으로 번역도 해주고
통역도 도와주시고
그렇게 그럴 겁니다.
그러니까 뭐 저희가 이제 준비할 건 다 했다. 바로 소개하겠습니다.
예, 퍼플렉시티 아라빈드
스리니바스
대표님.
아라빈드 사장님 어서 오십시오.
어서 오세요.
Thank you for having me here.
네.
네, 감사합니다.
이 퍼플렉시티는 그 여러 명이 함께 창업했나 봐요. Co-founder and CEO 아라빈드라고 돼 있네요.
Yeah, Perplexity was co-founded by 4 people.
네 명.
So I'm the co-founder and CEO, and there's Dennis, who's the co-founder and CTO. There's Johnny Ho, who's the co-founder and chief strategy. Then there's Andy, who's the co-founder and president. So the company began in August 2022. So basically 2 years ago. And we essentially came as a group of people interested in combining AI and search and building like every software would be reimagined with modern generative cutting edge AI. But the king of all software, the biggest in terms of reach, is search. So if you want to revolutionize one software, why not pick the biggest of it? And so that's what motivated us to work on this problem.
예.
어디서 다 만나셨어요?
It's an interesting story. Dennis and I knew each other from our PhD days. So I did a PhD in UC Berkeley in AI, and Dennis did a PhD in New York University in AI too. And then we wrote the same paper, same idea, same set of experiments, but in 2 separate universities, 1 day apart. So that's how we got to know each other. And then he came as a visiting student to my lab and worked with my advisor. And we got to talk and chat about different ideas and kept in touch. We did not initially, discuss founding a company together, but we discussed many ideas. And he had earlier worked, his first job was at Microsoft Bing as a software engineer. So clearly, like we knew that we had a lot of shared interests. And then when the time was right, I reached out to him to found Perplexity together. Dennis knew Johnny separately. And they had worked together at Quora. So he brought in Johnny. And then Andy initially was an investor and helping me found the company and help me operationally. Because he got so excited about how fast we were moving and shipping product, he came to the company as president.
프레지던트가 가장 높습니까?
No.
CEO가 더 높아요?
싸우진 않습니까? 서로?
No, not at all.
와. 오케이.
근데 2년 만에 이런 서비스를 만든다는 건 본인들도 굉장히 생각 못했었던 빠른 속도입니까? 아니면 우리는 해낼 줄 알았습니까?
No, definitely I did not expect this level of success this fast. We were pretty we had pretty low expectations. We were like, okay, if this thing can be useful to 100 people, that's a good start. And then slowly as we kept on making it more and more useful and working better, our ambitions expanded. We got to 100 people, 1,000 users, 10,000 users, 100,000 users. And that's when we felt like this was getting real. And then the day we hit 1 million users, we were like, okay, this is really big. And we need to commit to making it an actual company. Until then, it's just a product, it's just a project being, served to a bunch of people, but it doesn't cost much. But when you want to scale and like get into the hands of like several millions or hundreds of millions of people, that's when like you really need to think about like hiring a lot of people, raising a lot of venture capital, and like building infrastructure that can scale, and also thinking about business models, partnerships for growth. So that's when like I began to take it even more seriously, and I was like, okay, this so far so good. Definitely got pretty lucky to get here, but now I need to be a lot more strategic and think about growth in a more careful way.
챗 GPT가 나온 게 결정적인 영향이었을까요?
그렇겠죠.
No, definitely not. We had a version of the Perplexity in the form of a Slack bot around October or even end of September in 2022. ChatGPT got released towards the end of November 2022. So we were independently building it. Definitely ChatGPT being a big moment in AI and for the whole world gave us the motivation to release it sooner. So our release happened a week after ChatGPT got put out. So ChatGPT was released on November 30th, 2022, and Perplexity got released on December 7th, 2022.
오픈AI는 처음에 개발할 때 그 하드웨어, 비싼 하드웨어를 많이 칩을 집어넣고 성능을 확장시키는 과정에서 엔지니어들이 예상 못했던 결과를 얻어냈다고 발표를 했는데 2022년 8월 달에 창업했던 퍼블리시티가 2달 만에 그거하고 비슷한 인공지능 엔진을 갖고 있었다는 건 좀 이해가 안 되는데요.
Yeah, so the difference between ChatGPT and Perplexity is not in the LLM. It's in the fact that we're not just doing the LLM, we're not just doing the AI model. We're actually going to the web, pulling search results, pulling relevant links, and using those links to answer the question. So every answer you get in Perplexity has sources, has citations. So those references really help make the answer much more accurate, much more factful. And most importantly, there's no knowledge cutoff. Like it's not like it only has knowledge until a certain date. It can pull real-time information. So its a use case is more meant for facts, accuracy, and like real-time news, and less about like AI model giving you ideas for brainstorming or like grammar correction. That's the use case of ChatGPT. It's two different products.
이게 퍼플렉시티 저도 써봤는데 퍼플렉시티 이제 검색어를 넣으면 막 이제 쭉 뭐 답을 해주시잖아요. 그거를 우리가 보는 것 말고 그 뒤에서는 무슨 일이 일어나는지를 한번 설명해주면 조금 저희가 이해하기가 좀 쉬울 것 같습니다.
그리고 들으시기에 이게 좋은 질문인 것 같으면 good question이라고 얘기해 주시면 좋습니다. 네. 저희도 휴먼이거든요.
Yeah, so when you ask a question on Perplexity, the first step is to go and pull relevant links from the web, not to immediately write the answer from the AI. So the first step is to actually pull links from the web, pick the top relevant links, pick the paragraphs in each of those links that are related to the query you asked, and then ask the AI model to read those paragraphs and write a summarized answer to what the user asked, and also cite and give your references to every single sentence you write. So the task is completely, what happens in ChatGPT is you ask a question and then AI model just gives you the answer. What happens in Perplexity is you ask a question, we pull information from the web, we pull relevant paragraphs from each link, and then we use only that to write the answer. So that way the answer doesn't make up things. It uses human written sources from the web. The answer doesn't have any knowledge cutoff. It can always pull like real-time links, and the answer can be fact-checked by you, because you cannot trust what the AI says. Here, at least you know that where the information is coming from. So it gives user the power to go and verify in case the AI makes mistakes. So you get a lot more than what ChatGPT offers in Perplexity. But the magic is it all happens simultaneously it all happens at the same latency. The latency of ChatGPT and Perplexity are more or less the same. Now, that's very difficult because we do a lot more work behind the scenes per query than what ChatGPT does, because there's no real-time search. Despite that, we're able to offer fast answers and accurate answers. So that's where the magic happens. How can you be so fast and accurate simultaneously? You can be fast, but you can compromise on accuracy. You can be really accurate, but you can be very slow by using a lot of expensive AI. it's very hard to be simultaneously both. And so Perplexity identifies that sweet spot between speed and accuracy really well.
이게 우리가 원래 있던 걸 답하는 게 아니고, 그러니까 그때 우리가 그 키워드 검색어를 넣으면 질문을 넣으면 바로바로 그때 이제 찾아서 보여준 그걸 서머라이즈해서 보여준다. 그게 맞는 거죠?
Correct. Yeah, there's the AI model. The AI model's work in Perplexity is summarization. Is format the answer cleanly. Make sure you reference the right sources. Make sure you write a clean, concise, summarized answer. AI models work in ChatGPT is use your knowledge and write an answer. So the problem with that approach is that the AI model's knowledge is not accurate. Sometimes it's just based on its memorization of the internet. So its memorization of the internet can have mistakes. You cannot do anything. You as a human cannot even verify if it was a mistake or not. You can only verify if you had some links that other humans wrote. Then you can go and check. That's what Perplexity offers.
궁금한 게 있는데 그러면 퍼플렉시티 말고도 뭐 u.com 뭐 등등등 이런 검색 AI들이 있는데 그러면 그 좋은 검색 AI라는 건 그 어떤 사이트를 참조할 것이냐 이 많은 정보 중에 뭐를 특히 보고 서머라이즈 할 거 그걸 찾는 게 기능입니까? 그 기술 그 어떤 거를 제일 정확한 문서들이야라고 찾는 기술이 가장 중요한 기술일까요?
질문을 요약하면 비슷한 그 서치 AI들의 성능 차이는 어디서 오는 겁니까? 라는 질문입니다.
Yeah, so there are many things at play here. Accuracy matters the most. How accurate is your answer? Like, does your model, does your AI, does your service hallucinate or not? And then, how fast is the product? People are not interested in slow answers. So, accuracy and speed are the two most important things. And then, citations or references is like really convenient to go and check. So that's also the UI matters. How the sources are presented, how the sources are used as part of every sentence, not just at the top. Fine-grained citations, that also matters. And then follow-up questions. After you've gotten the answer, what if you want to ask a follow-up question? Converse more. Traditional search does not let you converse. It just gives you the links, and then after that, the next question is a fresh question. In an answer engine like Perplexity, you can actually, after getting an answer, keep asking more. And not only that, we suggest follow-up questions ourselves. We suggest you what to ask next. And that helps people because people are not necessarily going to keep typing more and more. Like, they're not necessarily going to evolve into prompt engineers. Rather, they're going to want the AI to do all the hard work for them and help them keep guiding. The AI should guide them to keep learning more about the topic. So that's why we have suggested follow-ups. That is like many of our users love that because sometimes they start with a very ambiguous question, but the follow-ups are helping them to learn more. So all of these things, in addition to that, we also on our pro searches offer multi-step reasoning. So you ask a hard question, it'll break it down into smaller, simpler questions, solve each of those simpler questions, the searches for them, and aggregate all the individual answers into one great answer at the end. So it's like almost like having a research analyst or a research assistant for you that goes and does a whole research task and comes back to you with a thoroughly researched answer. Now that's like having a big impact for knowledge work, like research on which stocks to buy, or like you want to understand why is Nvidia stock, like what is the analyst expectations, like what are the competitors to Nvidia, or like what is the difference in like training and inference chips. Like if you want to do like deep dive research into something that has the decisions that are being made based on that research are worth like several millions of dollars, then good research like simplifies a lot of time and hours spent. Example, like McKinsey analysts spend a lot of hours analyzing a public market stock. All that can be done in a matter of seconds on Perplexity. So I think that's the broad spectrum of use cases, all the way from quick, fast facts to like real, hard, deep questions, thorough research. Perplexity handles that whole spectrum. And it's not taking market share away from navigational searches. Rather, it's trying to make it possible for you to come and ask any question you want, whether it be as basic a question as what is the capital of South Korea, or as hard a question as like, how does the Korean sovereign fund work and what are its investments and what is the strategy? It doesn't matter what the complexity of the question is. The AI figures out how to orchestrate and use so many different models. Depending on the complexity of the query, use simple models or hard models. And depending on the complexity of the query, use 5 sources or like 100 sources. It just knows to handle all that diversity of queries in one single product, one single search bar. So that's basically what makes Perplexity really special. So there are 2 levels of ranking that happen. Actually 3 levels. The first level of ranking is just based on your query. It looks for keyword matches in the relevant links, and we have a whole index of the web. So it looks for keyword matches and picks the top links that match keywords. And then after that, there is a more semantic ranking step that uses vector search to like filter documents based on like more semantic relevance. The keyword is not very semantic. And then you get like another, let's say the top 10 or 20 documents retrieved. And then you use those documents to like ask the large language model, the AI model, to say, okay, these are the final set of documents we think is relevant. Now only use that to write an answer, and you can filter off whatever is not relevant. So the AI model does the final ranking based on pure higher like semantic relevance of like each paragraph. And I think that's what helps the Perplexity answer to like, go deeper on the ranking step than what a traditional search engine offers. Traditional search engine stops with the first 2 steps. The answer engine does another step of ranking, which looks at a paragraph level of relevance and can understand like higher order relationships between the query and the links. So that's why like the answers are more fine-grained, and especially for harder questions, you need this level of reasoning to like really dig down deeper.
그러면 이 퍼플렉시티 등등등 하여튼 검색 AI에 대해서 되게 관심이 많은데 서치 뭐 그다음에 LLM 하여튼 말귀를 잘 알아듣는 거, 말도 잘해야 되는 거, 이런 기능들이 다 종합적으로 잘해야지만 이걸 할 수 있을까요? 예를 들면 구글은 검색을 잘하고 뭐 오픈 AI는 LLM이 좋아요. 말을 잘해. 뭐 그런 장점들이 있는 회사들이 있는데 퍼플렉시티는 사실 각자의 아주 큰 강점이 있는 회사는 아직 아닌데 요거를 우리는 그래도 다 갖고 있어가 장점일까요?
둘 다 고유한 걸 갖고 계십니까?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So in the case of Google, they're very good at the traditional search. They're also good at LLMs. Like they know how to train really good models like Gemini and things like that. I would say like the reason they're not able to make the core Google search engine like Perplexity, where you can just go and ask anything you want and get an answer, is their business model. The way Google makes money, Google is a free product.
Yeah.
So the way Google makes money is not from you, the user. They make money from the advertiser. And how it makes money is when the advertiser bids, that is, pays certain dollar for a keyword, and you as a user click on those sponsored links. Every time you click on it, they make money. So if people stop clicking on links, Google stops making money because the advertisers get way fewer traffic clicks. So that means they're not going to pay as much advertising budget anymore on Google. And so Google starts losing money. This is exactly why Google is unable to ship a product like Perplexity, even though it has all the technology to do it. In the case of OpenAI, they're very good at LLMs, but LLM alone is not enough. Most of informational needs of people requires accuracy and real-time information. Like a lot of the things are like what to do locally. You want actual links. You actually want the grounded answers, not what the model remembers. So it requires you to be pretty good at product engineering, AI, design, search, infrastructure, all of these things together. And that's where we specialize a lot in. In fact, like you can say that there's a quote in like there's a movie made on Steve Jobs. And there's a scene where Steve Wozniak, the actor who plays Wozniak, is asking the actor who plays Steve Jobs, I am the guy who actually engineered the Apple computer. You're not the guy who writes code. You're not the engineer. You're not the designer also. But everybody knows who you are, and nobody knows me. Why is that? And to that, Steve Jobs says, because I play the orchestra. I orchestrate everything together. So that is exactly what we are good at. We're good at orchestrating search and LLMs together in one simple, clean, fast product. That's not easy. It may sound like, okay, you don't have the best search, you don't have the best LLM, why are you there? Because we know how to orchestrate it really well. And that orchestration step is important because the user doesn't actually care which AI model was used to deliver the answer. The user doesn't care which search index was used to deliver the answer. What the user cares is the answer correct? Is the answer fast? And is it working all the time? If you're good at that, sounds very simple, but to do this at scale is not that easy.
제가 사실은 퍼플렉시티를 자주 써요. 진짜로. 요즘은 구글보다도 조금 더 쓰는 것 정도로 많이 쓰는데 퍼플렉시티 여기 들어오기 전에 퍼플렉시티한테 뭐라고 물어봤냐면 퍼플렉시티가 구글을 대체할 수 있을까요? 이렇게 물어봤더니 퍼플렉시티가 대답하기를 그건 좀 어려울 것 같습니다. 그렇게 대답했는데?
Yeah, so this is like a nuance point, which is Perplexity's success does not require Google's failure. For Perplexity to succeed, you do not need to substitute Google with Perplexity. There are some things that you were just unable to do on Google before. Asking questions, asking hard questions, like asking deep research questions. That was not possible on Google. Google was good for navigation. Google was good for instantly getting onto a particular web page. And it'll still continue to be good at it. But what Google's not good at is like answering difficult questions. And earlier we were just not asking those questions because we didn't have any technology to do that. Now we can. So the trend of like searching for links has saturated. The growth is at its peak. On the other hand, the trend of asking questions is just beginning. It's on the rise. This is exactly what happened to Yahoo and Google. Yahoo was the portal. It's like one homepage, landing page where you can go to many places. Curated. Google was not a portal. Google was a search bar. And when Google was up and coming, a lot of people thought that search engines are not needed. You only need portals. So in fact, until 2010 or 11, Yahoo had more traffic than Google. Yahoo was still the number one traffic site.
Yeah.
But Google had already IPO'd by then and was a very successful company. So this already shows you that like exactly right now, search is already at its max. Like how portals were already peaked out back then. And the answer engine is on the rise. So it'll take several years, maybe even a decade for the answer engine traffic to beat the search engine traffic. But the important thing to realize is it's not taking traffic away from the search engine here. It's creating a new habit. And as people start experiencing this new habit, they realize they don't have to do things the old way anymore, slowly. Like you don't have to go and type in like a word, open the link, read. You get used to this new superpower.
우리도 똑같은 일을 하고 있는데. Creating new habit.
알겠습니다.
저희도 매일 7시쯤 되면 여러분들이 유튜브를 항상 볼 수 있게 하고 있죠. 이 질문은 앞서 했어야 되는 것 같기도 하고 제가 놓친 것 같기도 한데 이 퍼플렉시티가 쓰는 그런 퍼플렉시티가 쓰는 LLM 모델과 서치 엔진은 그 회사가 스스로 만든 거예요? 아니면 여기저기를 조합해서 사다 쓰는 겁니까?
Yeah, so we have both the search index and the AI LLM model. We have in-house infrastructure for both of them, and we rely on other providers for both of them. So, like I said, we are an orchestra. That doesn't mean we don't have anything in-house. If, for example, someday randomly OpenAI systems are down or Anthropic's systems are down, then we should be able to still run the product, or else users won't trust us. Similarly, like let's say some search API is not working, we should still be able to serve good results. So from the beginning, we've been building in-house infrastructure. Building in-house infrastructure is actually hard. It takes a lot of money and time. So we are still a young company. So it's not completely in-house, but it's gotten good enough now that even if any of these other systems fail, the Perplexity product can still run. So our goal is that we'll get pretty self-reliant, fully in-house over a period of time, but we shouldn't wait for that to succeed as a product because the user does not care about like what the internal workings of the product are.
그럼 만약 퍼플렉시티의 서비스가 굉장히 인기가 생겨서 구글과 오픈 AI가 합쳐져서 우리 퍼플렉시티 한번 이겨보자 라고 해서 서비스를 만들면 결국 그거에다가 오케스트라 하는 건데 얼마나 더 파워풀할까요? 지금의 퍼플렉시티보다. 아니면 둘이 합쳐봐야 별 차이 없어? 오케스트라가 중요하지입니까?
Yeah, I think, like I said, Google's biggest challenge to attack Perplexity is their own business model. So maybe I'll make a statement that's more like simpler. For Google to kill Perplexity, Google has to kill Google itself. The next version of Google is that. The next version of Google, if it's like just answers, then it'll kill Perplexity, but it'll also kill Google. But killing Google means killing the ads model too, because ads model is based on link clicks. They make money through YouTube and cloud, but the profit margins are very high only in the search advertising. So even if they expand other businesses, it's not easy to kill this. So that's why Perplexity is fine with respect to innovator dilemma there. Now, with respect to OpenAI, it's all about focus. There's a famous basketball player who's considered the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan, after like winning 3 times, he retired, saying he wants to go and play baseball. But in baseball, he was not good.
혹시 그 답변은 투자자들한테 많이 받았던 질문에 대한 전형적인 답변 아닙니까?
No, this is a new answer. But the thing is that the game of building an answer engine, a search product, but with LLMs, is still different from building the best LLM. Because there's a lot of work to do on the crawling, indexing, ranking, different UI, like for sports, for weather, for finance, for travel. You have all these different UIs, shopping. You need to build a completely different interface, completely different set of things for search that has nothing to do with the core expertise of building the best AI model, drilling the next GPT. So that's why OpenAI may not necessarily be the best company to work on search. There's another interesting thing to consider is that companies that have typically won have always been the ones who have focused a lot. Like Bruce Lee has this quote, like, I don't fear the man who practices 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man who practices one kick 10,000 times.
퍼플렉시티의 핵심 서비스는 서치 엔진과 LLM 인공지능과 그것을 이제 잘 조화시키는 오케스트레이션이라고 한다면 이 서치 엔진 그 자체와 인공지능 그 자체가 개발하기가 매우 어려운 그런 비싼 기술이라서 이제 이거를 자체적으로도 하고 아웃소싱도 하고 한다고 하지만 가장 훌륭한 서치 엔진과 가장 훌륭한 그 LLM 인공지능이 결합을 할 경우에 얼마나 파워풀한 서비스가 나오느냐는 질문은 이 퍼플렉시티의 서비스가 이 각각의 서치 엔진의 성능, 인공지능의 성능에 얼마나 의존하는 것이냐, 이제 그 정도를 알기 위해서 드린 질문입니다. 약간 좀 테크니컬하게 답을 해주시면 좀 더 도움이 될 것 같습니다.
Yeah, so this is an interesting question where the trade-off keeps changing every time. So with like previous generation of models, the search component was very important because unless you got the top 10 documents right, the AI model would tend to hallucinate or it would tend to make up things. That is, if you have a list of links and the content in those links is not relevant to the query, then instead of saying, I don't know the answer, the model would make up things. It would try to mishmash the irrelevant content to what is there. Today's models don't do that. Today's models are smarter, higher IQ, more reasoning. So if the relevant information is not picked, they're just going to say like it's not. I don't have information. Then or even if like the first 10 links are like having 7 irrelevant links and 3 relevant links, today's models are pretty smart that they can ignore the 7 and only use the 3 relevant ones. And they are so smart that they can, even if the 3 relevant ones are right at the bottom and the first 7 are irrelevant, they can still ignore. So these kind of like progress in the reasoning capability of the AI model makes it okay to have a reasonable search engine, reasonable search index ranking, but not like as good as Google. Because the LLM is doing more work later. Similarly, like as the search index and ranking get better and better, the LLM's reasoning capability also becomes less important. That is 80% of the user query or 90% of the user queries can be answered with a great open source model. The fact what's happening in the AI model landscape is that there's a lot of competition between these different model builders, OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta. And so that is driving the prices down. Whatever costs like some dollars per token today, tomorrow it's like 10x cheaper. And like 1 year from now, it's 100x cheaper. So we are betting on a future where it's going to be 100x cheaper to serve the current version of the product for the current user base. That means we can plan for a growth of 100x in usage from where we are today based on the upcoming trends. So the models are getting more and more cheaper. So and because of that, like our own expertise in training models becomes less important. There are enough people to do that and spend a lot of money doing that. And they're going to be making it available open source and also going to be making it available in the form of closed APIs. And we benefit a lot from that competition and price reduction and capability increase. So that's why it might look, traditional reasoning might look like, okay, these are two hard problems on their own and like this company is trying to do an intersection of that. But the reality is the importance of the search problem is getting lower as these models get capable. And the difficulty of having an access to these great models is also getting lower because they're getting somewhat commoditized and cheaper. So a startup that's making use of both in the best possible way is really well positioned to win.
그 봐요. 좋은 질문하니까 좋은 답이 나오잖아.
그러면 그 진입 장벽 같은 거는 없을 것 같아요. 그러니까 새로운 이게 퍼플렉시티가 하는 걸 보고 나도 그럼 새로운 스타트업이 나와서 우리도 열심히 개발했어.
심지어 내가 베를린 필하모니의 실제 오케스트라 단장이었어.
그래서 여기 조금 해가지고 우리는 더 스위스팟을 더 잘 만들었어.
Yeah, it's not difficult to build a Perplexity clone over a weekend that'll do like 80% of what Perplexity does. If it was actually that difficult, then we wouldn't have been able to build it ourselves like 2 years ago. What is difficult is that final 20%. Like, there is a whole curve, like lesson in management that like 80% of the work takes only 20% of the effort, and the remaining 80% of the effort is spent on the remaining 20% of the work. It's a long tail of queries, all the mistakes, all the edge cases, corner cases that we have gathered over the last 2 years and understood better and better and fixed it like so many fixes. That's what makes us much better. So it's like that 1% improvement every single day. Now, if you allow like 2 more years or 4 more years, it's going to be that gap is going to keep increasing. And the other thing I would say is that it's very difficult for a company to build a horizontal product across so many different use cases. But when a company can actually do that, by trying to do the hard thing, you can succeed way bigger. Let me give you an example. You don't have vertical search engines really. Like finance or stocks or like weather or sports or shopping. Like most people just go to Google. But it's very hard to build even one individual thing well. But they've packaged it all into one product. And that's why they get all the traffic. And that's why they get to monetize all the traffic through ads. The same thing will apply in the generative AI case, where it's very hard to build a good search product for like LLM-based search product for even one vertical. Just even deep academic research or medical research or financial research, legal research, research on products and shopping. Very hard to do all these things. All these things require different UIs and different sources, what sources matter for each vertical. Hard to do it for each language. But if you do it, then you really win big because someone else will find it very hard to work on like 10 projects simultaneously. So it's also like that. As a company, when you're trying to build a competitor, like you're not just thinking about like like that first 80% of the work. When you start thinking about okay, what after that, and you realize like 100 different things you got to do, and then you realize Perplexity already did it, and so they're working on the next 1,000 things. So by the time I get to the next 100 things, they're already gotten so far ahead.
퍼플렉시티를 사람들이 많이 쓰면 많이 쓸수록 좀 더 퍼플렉시티의 경쟁력이 올라간다고 봤나요? 그러니까 그 검색의 정확성이나 답변의 정확성.
Yeah, definitely. Like there is that network effect of people using the product, contributing to the product getting better. We call it the data flywheel concept, where because it's an AI product, more user data makes the AI better, and because the AI got better, mistakes reduce, and the product gets better. And because the product got better, existing users use it more, and new users come in. And that gets even more data for the AI to get better again, and that keeps repeating. And that's what you want to be. You always want to build services where there is some network effect or some flywheel, where as the scale keeps increasing, the capabilities like automatically become like better and better.
그게 정확도, 서비스의 정확도를 높이는 데 있어서 어느 정도의 퍼센테이지를 차지하는 것 같습니까? 즉 많은 유저들이 점점 더 많은 그 검색과 서치를 통해서 퍼플렉시티의 그 정답을 더 그럴듯하게 만들어주는 정도가 어느 정도의 그 포션을 차지하는 것 같으세요?
100%. I mean, search is all a game of scale. There are like trillion web pages on the internet. You cannot index all of them. In fact, like the utility of the links on the web is the extreme power law. Power law is basically like the 80-20 rule, except in the web pages case, 99% of the web pages on the internet are like completely useless. Only 1% are really useful for question answering and like almost any question you have. So out of trillion pages, only 10 billion pages are really useful. But the chicken and egg problem is that you don't know which pages are useful without actually like building an index and having a product and seeing what is useful. But you can only have a product and like that's used by a lot of people if you have a good index. So it's very hard to break this chicken and egg problem and getting a lot of users. And we have successfully managed to get a good chunk of users already and a good growth curve going on. That I would say that like that's where the scale effects begin to play. Now that we have lots of users, we can easily identify like the most important parts of the web and build our crawling infrastructure to like specifically focus on that and keep expanding that, keep the index fresh, keep improving the ranking, and don't have to do the work that traditional search engines did, where Google at one time used to index trillion pages, and then they concluded that it's not that essential to have like that many web pages, and they focus more on like keeping a more smaller compact set. But even that is like one order of magnitude more, like 100 billion or more. So I think like that's where I think we have like a tremendous advantage, because we're using AI, we're using LLMs. We can easily filter a lot of things. We can write less code to do the same thing.
그래서 바로 그 문제를 그 구글 서치 엔진은 인용되는 횟수, 사람들이 자꾸 찾아가는 횟수를 기준으로 이게 유용하구나라고 하는 것을 먼저 찾아내서 위로 올리는 방식을 썼는데, 이런 그 서치 AI에서는 우리가 내놓은 대답이 어떤 것이 사람들에게 도움이 됐었는지, 어떤 렐러번스가 더 강한지를 어떻게 알아내고 계속 그것을 더 강화하는 거예요?
Yeah, so this is like a circular definition. Which pages are important are those that get cited by the LLM. And then important pages get cited, and pages that get cited are important. That circular definition is there. So as we gather more data of like which pages the LLM decides to cite, then we use that to train a different kind of ranking model than what Google trains with what human clicks on. In fact, it's very different. The relevance by click versus relevance by content. Content relevance is a way higher, superior signal to click-based relevance. It's because it's not corrupted by ads. So therefore, you can train better models.
근데 퍼플렉시티의 답은 이 문장으로 쭉 나와 있으니까.
아니 근데 그 관련 서류를 보여주니까 관련 서류를 클릭하면 그게 내가 좋은 걸 찾았구나 이렇게 이해한다는 거예요 AI가?
그런 거예요? 즉 AI 퍼플렉시티의 답은 평서문으로 쭉 그냥 나온 보고서로 나오니까 사람들이 렐러번스가 높다고 판단하는지 아닌지를 모르고 넘어갈 텐데 그게 어떻게 강화할 수 있죠?
Yeah, so I think like if the answer is really good, then the right sources were used for it. So that's how we tend to like train our ranking. Also, like I said, right, like it's the advantage of having this LLM based model is that you don't even need to get the first 3 links or 4 links, the ranking right. You just need to get the set of 10 links right. So that gives you a lot more flexibility to make some mistakes. You don't need to be that precise. You need to have a high recall, but precision can be lower. And that really like makes a difference in terms of like the kind of ranking models you can train, which is at a set level instead of like the first link or second link level. And I would say that like if you're like back then when Google was building ranking models, AI was not working that well. So they relied a lot on other signals like link clicks. Okay, if someone typed in a query and if they clicked on a particular link and did not click on another link, the link they clicked on is more relevant than the link they did not click on. That was how they trained the Google ranking system. But today's AI is so advanced that it can actually like look at the text in each of those links and say which link is more related to the query. So that lets you like rely a lot less on link clicks data. Perplexity also gets you link clicks. People still click on sources on Perplexity too. So we still get that signal. But in addition to that, we get a lot more signal from the LLM. And that way we can build very, very different ranking systems to what Google built.
근데 저희의 질문은
유저가 판단하는 피드백을 어떻게
그렇죠. 저희의 질문은 퍼플렉시티는
보냐는 거예요.
지난 3년간 유저들의 수십만 번의 사용이 있었고 지금 막 태어난 어떤 예를 들면 구버 같은 서비스가 다른 서비스가 있다면 니네는 지금 시작한 거라서 우리의 서비스가 더 훌륭할 거야 라고 이야기를 하려면 사람들의 피드백이 이 서비스를 강화하는 논리에 대해서 설명을 들어야 그렇겠구나 싶은 건데 그 강화를 어떻게 하느냐는
피드백을 어떤 식으로 받냐는 거예요. 그러니까
그렇죠. 이게 잘 렐러번스한
제가
건지.
이거 써봐도 그냥 보기만 하는 거지 뭐 좋아요, 나빠요 이런 피드백은 없었던 것 같은데.
바로 그 질문입니다.
So there are multiple ways we can do that. One is, like if a user clicks on a link, that's data for us. So that way we know which link was most relevant in the sources we render. But obviously we get way fewer link clicks. So every time we even get the set of links that the LLM picked to write the answer, the top source panel you see, that's again like data for us of like, okay, for the list of 100 links that we initially retrieved, this is the final list that the LLM decided was relevant. And I think that again is used by us to train like better ranking models. And then we also have data we collect on like, okay, these links get cited these many times over a period of a month. This domain, this web domain got cited these many times. This web domain got sourced these many times, and that helps us build like a page rank of the web, which is the most relevant domains get cited more often, and that way like we can use that signal also to be useful in the first stage of retrieval, where when we have like 100 documents that we're retrieving, we can prioritize the domains that get cited more often. So these are just like some simple ways in which the data flywheel is helping. There are many other ways. For example, a lot of synthetic data can be generated. Every time you ask a question on Perplexity, we are rewriting your query so that even if you make a mistake in your query, we truly understand your intent. Now that rewriting step is also done by another model. And that model is also learning through all the synthetic data you generate for like all the user traffic. And there's another model that's suggesting questions. That model keeps learning. Sometimes you're clicking on the next question that we suggest. We collect data of like which questions you click on more often. And we try to train the model to score better on the probability of a user click. And that also increases the chance of like more questions asked. So there are like like 10 or 20 different like small things like this that add up and make the product like better every day.
그냥 보고니까 다시 이걸 찾아줘라고 자꾸 누르면 이게 뭔가 잘못 찾은 거고 이런 식으로 설명했던 것 같은데.
세컨드 퀘스천이 계속 어떤 것으로 나오느냐에 따라서 우리가 첫 번째 퀘스천에 대한 앤서가 얼마나 애큐러트한지를
알 수 있다.
추정한다는 걸로 이해했는데.
Yeah, I think getting the answer correct the first step itself is the main signal we look at, and earlier we used to have like human annotators like analyze the logs and verify if like the accuracy rate is good or not. Now we actually use AI evaluations where there's like a much more expensive AI model that's taking a look at a query and the sources and the answer and saying if the answer was correct or not. So AI is actually like AI can be used to summarize and generate the answer, but AI can also be used to take a look at AI's answer itself based on the query and the sources and label if something was correct or not. And then that AI evaluation score is being used to like measure if the system is like improving or not. And if the correctness score goes up, then we are doing well.
근데 AI가 셀프 임프루먼트를 할 수 있으면 할루시네이션이 왜 극복이 안 되겠어요? 셀프 임프루먼트가 안 되니까 그렇게 되는 것 같은데?
Hallucination problems are not fixed because the self-improvement like loop is not like iteratively, it's not guaranteed to improve all the time. Sometimes it might help that the AI can evaluate. Other times the AI might not be able to evaluate perfectly. So evaluation at an aggregate level that is across like thousands of queries is different from evaluation at an individual level where you need a higher degree of reliability. Also, when you're using a product, let's say the AI is generating an answer, and then the AI is evaluating the answer, and then the AI is generating another version of the answer. AI is evaluating it like, let's say 10 times this step happens. As a user, you're frustrated waiting for the answer. You're like waiting for 10 seconds, 20 seconds. If you're okay waiting for that, then yes, I think we can solve hallucination more or less by throwing a lot of like iterations of compute and browsing the full version of the pages, making everything like using the longest context. I think it's certainly solvable, except it's not sustainable. You cannot do this at a scale of like 100 million queries a day and with a latency expectation of like 1 second. That is the challenge. You can even if let's say you give a problem to a human and give them like infinite time to solve it, they can solve it as long as it's solvable. But if you give an exam and only give half an hour, that's when like you have to be clever.
구글이 이제 사실은 서치 엔진으로 잘 못 가는 게 서치 AI로 잘 못 가는 게 그 광고 때문이라면서요. 광고비를 포기하기 어려워서 그렇다. 그러면 퍼플렉시티는 돈을 어떻게 봅니까?
Today we make revenue in 3 ways, and there's another fourth one that we're going to do. The first 3 ways in which we're already making revenue is consumer subscriptions, enterprise subscriptions, and then API. So consumer subscriptions are people paying like $20 a month. Enterprise subscriptions are people paying like $40 a month, but buying it at a company level. And they get, in return, they get higher rate limits and like security, data privacy, and like management of users, administration, single sign-on supports, all that. And then API, where our APIs, where you get you put in a query and you get in the answer, but we also get the real-time information and citations. That's available as an API. People pay us for all these 3 things, and each of these is making like millions in revenue a year. But the next thing that we're going to try is advertisements. Now you can ask like, okay, you're saying Google's ads, and like, why are you also doing ads? The thing is that like as these models are getting cheaper, these products are much easier to serve at scale, that it makes sense to like not rely too much on people paying for search. Search is something that people are so mentally used to like, assuming it's free. And so like you better make sure that you can operate at a more sustainable way as you scale up. If you want to get like 100 million users or like billion users, you do need to make a product like as free as possible, or the free version should be really good. And so then how do you monetize? You need to have some notion of ads. As long as the ads is not link click based, you can try display advertising, which is after an answer there are some sponsored questions. Like the questions you see at the bottom, the questions could be sponsored. Like let's say you're doing your research on shoes, best athletic running shoes. Nike could be a sponsor there. Adidas could be a sponsor there. And then let's say you're researching a question about Nike shoes, Air Jordans. Adidas could be a sponsor after that question. It's still on you to click on it, and we can charge different advertising fee based on whether it's just display versus user actually clicked. And then imagine if user is even buying things after deciding like, okay, this is interesting, let me buy. Then we could charge another fee for that. So for commercial queries like shopping related or like travel related or like you're researching on which SaaS software to buy, I think these kind of things where Google commands a very high CPC, cost per click, we can try to do something similar in Perplexity too. I think that's why search is a very interesting business, right? Like when you achieve a certain user volume, query volume, you can really try to say, okay, if I get 100 million queries per day, and if I monetize even 3 million queries, that is 3% are like commercial intent or monetizable, and each query I make certain money, like let's say I make even like $1 a query. It's very low, by the way. Even if you make $1 a query on those 3 million queries, you make 3 million a day, right? So that's like $1 billion a year. So at volume, now if you scale from 100 million queries to like 1 billion queries, that billion in revenues, that becomes 10 billion revenue. And if you also like make sure the conversion are like much higher ratio, then you can charge even higher than $1 per query. You can charge even like $5 a query or $10 a query. And so that 10 billion revenue becomes 100 billion revenue. That's what Google is today.
저작권 문제가 여전히 있다. 퍼플렉시티는. 그러니까 다른데 원소스를 자꾸 가져와서 여기서 작성을 하는 거니까 그쪽 저작권, 너희가 왜 우리 저작권을 마음대로 쓰느냐 이런 법적인 문제가 있다고 들었어요. 그거는 어떻게 좀 해결이 될 것 같습니까?
뭐 그렇기도 하고 지금까지는 구글의 서치 엔진은 그쪽으로 트래픽을
보내주는 거니까
그 트래픽으로서 감사할 수 있는데 이건 트래픽도 안 오고 자기들끼리 검색만 하고 가니 우리는 더욱더 예민해질 수 있을 것 같은데요.
Yeah, Perplexity is still giving people traffic. Just let me clarify, it's not completely taking traffic away. And it's not like the other AI foundation models like OpenAI, which train models on your content and just give the models answer. That's very different. We always source, cite, and give the summary. So think about it as like a different evolution of the search engine where there's a summarization step happening, right? And so the traffic on the link clicks is still there. It's much lower rate than Google. And so the way we are going to work with publishers is, yes, we are really benefiting from your content. So if we make an ad revenue on a query, we will share that ad revenue with you if you are one of the sources for the original answer. I think that's more reasonable than saying, I'm going to buy your data, train my model, and once my model's already learned all your data, I'm not going to pay you anymore. That's what like current companies are trying to do. What we are proposing is we want to scale this business. We're going to continually keep using your content. We're not going to train models on your content. Instead, like when we make money on a revenue through ads, we'll share it with you. And that's resonated with like few people like Time Magazine and Fortune and like Der Spiegel, WordPress have all come forward, Texas Tribune, they've all come forward to work with us. And we have gotten inbound of like 100 plus publishers since that announcement. We've also funding like research on how AI and journalism can work together with a $250,000 grant to Northwestern University. And like what we want to do is like set up this ecosystem and prove that it can work. It's still on us to prove that it can work. There's a healthy skepticism on like, how can you make ad revenue on a query where a news article was cited? But I think it's possible. It's just a matter of like experimenting with different ad formats and units and without corrupting the correctness of the answer and showing that it can scale and getting our users.
I think it's possible too. 하나만 더 여쭤봅시다. 미안합니다. 첫 번째 창업이시죠?
Yeah.
처음에 2년 전에 이 일을 시작할 때 아마 이런 일이 나를 힘들게 할 거야 라고 생각했던 예상이 있었을 거고 지금 2년이 지난 다음에 실제로는 이런 게 나를 힘들게 하는구나 하는 리스트가 있고 서로 다를 거예요. 어떤 게 제일 다르고 본인을 힘들게 합니까? 뭐 예를 들면 한국에 끌려와서 이런 인터뷰하는 것까지 포함해서.
I think the problems are very different. I'm solving problems where like we are like close to 100 people in the company now. So I'm trying to like understand, earlier you could go and manually solve problems yourself or ask the specific person to go fix it. Things get fixed faster. Things move like every single day you can fix all the bugs that you see. When you're bigger, like you have to like plan and like file tickets and like assign it to the right individual and like explain to them why this is important. Like that sort of culture programming is pretty hard. Like what you used to do much effortlessly in the beginning. So in the beginning you were more concerned about like survival. So you only do like things that are needed to survive the next day. And then after surviving for a month, you plan for the next month. After surviving for 6 months, you plan for the next 6 months and so on, right? Now like we are trying to say, okay, we've survived for 2 years, but then next 2 years are going to be challenging because we're definitely going to have more people and not everybody has that same sense of urgency that we had in the first 6 months. How can we still move fast and despite having like a lot of, it's funny, right? When you have more people, you should ideally be doing more things, more projects, but that's not how things work. In fact, there is a law in business called the Price's Law. It states that 50% of any organization's output comes from the square root of the number of people. So if you have 100 people, then out of the 100, 10 people are contributing to 50% of the work. So if you, but it's the funny thing is you scale it up. If you have 10,000 people, only 100 people are contributing to 50% of the company's output. And if you have 100,000 people, it's only like, you or if you have like as you keep scaling on the powers 10 to the 1 million people, only 1,000 are really contributing to half the output. So that means like you're so dependent on a few individuals to like really help you. And that sort of dependence is like difficult. So we try to like see how we can fight this Price's Law.
어느 회사나 똑같아. 야, 진짜 만국의 공통 문제구나.
저희는 창업을 대략 한 4년 전에 했습니다. 그래서 제가 2년 더 경영해봤는데요. 그런 일 잘 못하는 사람들이 심지어 창업자들 사이에서도 나와요.
역시 창업은 진짜 힘든 거야.
아라빈드에게 이제 더 창업 선배시니까 한국식 조언을 한 마디씩 해주실 수 있다면.
앞으로 싸우게 될 일이 있을 거다. 그래서 창업은 원래 같이 하는 게 아니다. 한국에는 그런 격언이 있습니다.
그리고 만약 같이 창업했다면 빨리 헤어져라. 그래서 굳이 뭐 말씀을 드리면 당연히 직원들의 퍼포먼스에 대한 고민은 당연히 있을 수 있고 다만 그 4명의 창업자들의 생각을 조율하고 서로의 역할을 잘 결정하는 것이 중요할 것 같습니다. 당연히 알고 있는 얘기라는데.
예.
자,
퍼플렉시티.
예, 서비스의 뒷단에 대해서도 이런저런 질문을 좀 드려봤고.
예.
왜냐하면 제가 앞으로 한 5년 후에, 앞으로 3년 후에, 앞으로 10년 후에는 이 퍼플렉시티의 서비스가 얼마나 더 진화되어 있을까,
그럼요.
얼마나 더 정확한 답을 줄 것인가에 대한 이제 기대와 예상을 해야 되기 때문에 그래서 뒤에서는 어떻게 돌아가고 있어요? 어떻게 개선되고 있어요? 이런 질문도 좀 복잡하게 드린 것 같긴 합니다.
사실 미국에서 오셨는데 좀 시차도 아직 정화 안 된 저희가 조금 짓궂게 질문한 것 같긴 한데.
네, 아무튼
예.
다시 볼 일 있으면 그때 미안하다고 하지 뭐.
엄청 커지는 거 아니야? 퍼플렉시티가 우리 나중에 만나주지도 않는 거 아닐까?
네.
걱정은 됩니다.
자, 오늘 언더스탠딩 또 시청자 여러분 덕분에 저희도 함께 만나서 즐거운 대화 나누게 됐어요. 퍼플렉시티의
아라빈드
스리니바스 대표님 감사합니다.
Thank you.
감사합니다.